And Shabbat Shalom, welcome back here to the Light to the Nations channel. It's a blessing to be with you once again to share the word of YaHuWaH, to continue our study of the book of Yeshayahu, the book of Isaiah. After a week of recession, as you know, we have some storms going on here in Chile, and unfortunately, it was crippling our electrical system. And, we spent here in this place in the city with 6 days without power. So you can imagine it was not an easy week. It was an intense week with a lot of things going on. And unfortunately, there are still families here in the city that they had not even recovered after a week. They have not recovered the electricity. And there's a lot of things going on, But what I can tell you is what I said in the post last week, is that the storm we faced, it was something that I have never seen in my life here in this city. I have seen similar storms in other places. I have the privilege to visit in other countries. But here was the first time that I see something like that. So the city was totally unprepared for this type of situation. And that's why, is the impact we have. Thanks, YaHuWaH, that today we are able to do this broadcast. We recovered electricity, and we continue praying for those that are still suffering, for those that are still in need. As you can see, today I don't have Lillian with me. She's currently visiting her parents. I saw her; she's in the chat, so she will be helping us over there. She's enjoying this time with her parents. And she was escaping somehow as well the power outage. No, just kidding. Actually, the same day she went there, we recovered electricity here. So it's good that she's able to spend this time with her parents. So we are going to run solo this study today, but we all know that we are never alone. We always have YaHuWaH Sebaot, our amazing Elohim, with all of us, day by day, minute by minute, moment after moment. And it's just a matter for us to recognize and acknowledge that He is with us. It's just a matter for us to acknowledge that He's always available for us. He's just waiting for us to open the door of our hearts in order to partake this time, amazing time, with each one of us. So we are the one keeping the door, and we are the ones that are able to open that door. So to have this amazing time with the YaHuWaH Elohim. So I want to welcome all of you to this gathering. Let me see who is with us. First one that I saw here in the chat was Keeps Digging 7. So welcome, sister. I see Joy here with us as well. Susan, welcome, Susan. Corina, Heidi, Denise is also with us. Shannon, welcome, Shannon. Also, I see here Steven, welcome, brother. I see Mom also here. Welcome, Mom. Wadai, welcome, brother. Who else? Camila, I see Camila here with us as well. Welcome, Camila. And I see Karen also with us here. So welcome all of you to this study. Today, as I said, we will continue with the study of the book of Isaiah. We are going to read, and we are going to see what YaHuWaH has prepared for all of us in our hearts. And it's the continuation of this portion in the chapter 36 and chapter 37. And we have titled this portion, YaHuWaH Batachenu. And the meaning of this, YaHuWaH Batachenu, is we trust in YaHuWaH. And that should be the desire of our heart. That should be our attitude all the time, that we trust in YaHuWaH always. That no matter the circumstances and no matter the experiences we are living in our day-to-day, that our heart always trusts in YaHuWaH. And what we are going to read today in these two chapters is something that we already study as part of the book of Melachim Bet. And it's the story of Hizkiyahu, Hezekiah the king, and the intention of this king of Ashur, the king of Assyria, to conquer Jerusalem. Though we already studied this portion in the past, it's always good to revisit these stories and these writings in the word of YaHuWaH, because he's always opening our hearts, and he's always opening our eyes to see more than what we saw before. So I will invite you, as always, that you can share your thoughts. You can share what YaHuWaH is putting in your hearts about this portion in the chat, because that's the whole idea of this studies here in this channel, in this ministry, that YaHuWaH, the service that we are doing to YaHuWaH, that he has put in our hearts to serve him, is just to walk together, just to study together the word of YaHuWaH. Nobody is the owner of the truth. Only one is the owner of the truth. That's YaHuWaH Sebaot. And he is using his entire people, all of us, revealing pieces after pieces after pieces of his word, so we all together can come to the knowledge of the truth. So my invitation is that, as always, put your comment in the chat regarding the portion. Try to not to deviate from the portion, because sometimes, and this is totally normal, we go in different topics, and the scripture is like that. It's a big puzzle, and it's so normal that we go into rabbit trails, try to understand more things. But let's try to keep focus on this portion, and whatever the Ruach he's putting in your heart, go ahead and share it with us in the chat. And I'm gonna do the same, but not in the chat. I'm gonna do the same by what YaHuWaH is putting in my heart, and this is what I'm going to share with you. So some logistics, please let me know if the sound is good this week. If you remember last broadcast, we have some difficulties with sound. I managed to discover what was the issue, and now it should sound perfect. So please let me know, put something in the chat. Please allow me to know if you are able to hear good. So sound is great, sound is good. Okay, perfect. So thank you so much. Excellent. So we can easily continue with this portion. Okay, if you hear something that is not good in terms of sound, please let me know in the chat, but it should work perfectly today. So before continuing, and I forgot my glass of water, but I will bring it later when I put the music. My mouth is already dry to speaking so much. With Lilian is much easier because we can interact. But anyways, before continuing, I want to share something that YaHuWaH put in my heart to share. And in the last 2 to 3 weeks, I have been dreaming a lot, and I have been taking notes of my dreams. And I think it's something I have been sharing with you, that you need to keep that practice. It is written that Daniel the prophet used to write his dreams, and this is something that we should do as well. It is there is many places in the scripture that we can see easily that YaHuWaH is speaking to us through visions, through dreams. So I think YaHuWaH is doing something in these times, that he's revealing to all his people important messages through dreams. So I will urge you, I'm going to invite you, I'm going to urge you to start writing your dreams down. So get used to it. Get used to the practice of writing down the dreams. Maybe you are not going to understand a thing at the very beginning, but YaHuWaH with time will reveal what's the meaning of the dream. And what you should do, if you have a sister or a brother or somebody that you can speak and you can share those dreams with, you should do it, because maybe YaHuWaH is revealing something to you. Similarly to the case of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. He was having the dream, and also Pharaoh, he was having a dream, but somebody else was giving the interpretation. Maybe you are going to have exactly the same experience. maybe YaHuWaH is using you to reveal something, but he's going to use somebody else to provide interpretation of the dream. So, this week I have been having so an intense week in my work at office that I have not remembered my dreams that much. But the previous weeks, he was giving me almost every day more than 2 or 3 dreams per night. And Lillian and I were discussing and sharing the dreams just to understand the message. Some things were related to personal things in our lives. Other ones I think are more profound, are more the significant dreams. And one of them is the one that I want to share with you. It was a very short dream, but I think this is very relevant, and somehow it's allows me to understand what's going on in the world today. That we are seeing a shift in some things, and I think also could be meaningful for you as well to hear this dream. So during that dream, I saw myself in a city. I was at the street level, and I saw huge buildings in each side of the street. Okay, some of them were skyscrapers, other were tall buildings, and I'm not so sure if it was early in the morning or late in the evening, because it was dark, but there was a bit of light. Okay, so not sure it was, as I said, early in the morning or late in the evening. And when I was looking into the buildings, I saw the street, going in the road in front of me, and the buildings in each one of the side. Suddenly I saw a flag hanging vertically, and it was tied with 2 ropes in each one of the side. And these 2 ropes were at the level of the buildings, and the flag was hanging in the middle of the street. But actually, I found a picture that is somehow very similar to what I saw. Let me share with you. Just give me a second. So, like this one, it was something that I saw. It wasn't the American flag, though I'm not so sure, because it could be the flag of my country that has the same colors. I saw something very similar to what you see in the picture, with the difference is that the flag was not stretched out. The flag was gathered. Let me remove this one. Just give me a second. So the flag was not stretched out. The flag was gathered at the center, like a curtain. So it was gathered at the center, but stretched vertically. But I was not sure if it was the American flag or the flag of my country, Chile, or any other flag. So when I was looking into it, suddenly I see flames that just appeared on the flag from the bottom and started to burn the flag from the bottom up. And I saw, the flames, the fire on the flag started to burn itself. I didn't see anybody lighting the flag. I just saw the flag igniting fire by itself, and flames just appeared suddenly out of the thin air, started to burn the flag from the bottom up. I remember when I saw this situation, this scene, I saw above the flag and between the buildings, I saw, I'm not so sure it was the sun or the moon, because I just saw the disc, the circle. And it was like, on a screen that was somehow in front of the disc, that they wasn't allowing the sun or the moon to shine completely the light. I was able to see the circle like in a like in an eclipse, okay? But I wasn't able to confirm it was the sun or it was the moon, and it wasn't smoke. Because I saw no smoke in the flag, just saw the fire, and I saw above this the disk of the sun or the moon that was not bringing or giving all the light. It was something that was blocking it, like a smoke mirror or smoke window, just for you to understand. So after I saw that suddenly, and that was the more how to say it, obscure part of the dream, to say so. I saw in the street level, in the pavement, something very dark to rise. Was like smoke or like a shadow, but it was very dark, and it began to rise, and it was forming a figure of a man, and it was so tall, like same tall as the buildings. And I saw, the head being formed, but it was everything like smoke, but it was very dark. And I heard suddenly this being speaking in a language that I don't understand. And immediately I began speaking in tongues. But I was feeling, it was a real feeling that was what I was seeing was very evil. This fear and this smoke black thing that was emerging from the pavement, from the street, rising up in all this image that I was seeing was pure evil. And when I began hearing the words that he was speaking in a very dark way and a very profound sound, voice, I began speaking in tongues, and I immediately woke up. So that happened around 2.5 weeks ago. And when I was telling Lillian this, I said that, I had a very dark dream, and it was very dark, because the whole thing that I have just described to you, the only way to see it is that the dark forces, evil spirits that somehow connected to a city, and all these things that maybe is connected to things that we are seeing. The interpretation for this dream is so easy. You don't need any kind of scholarship. You can feel it in your heart. Is that the evil is emerging in cities, evil is emerging in the world. And I think we are facing, and as I said, this was around 2.5 weeks ago. And we have seen what's going on in the world today, that is like a shift in wrongdoing, a shift in evil things that's going on, that suddenly in the last 2 weeks we have been seeing these situations happening. For all of you that maybe are not connected to what's going on in Latin America, there's huge things happening in Venezuela, the country. That is not only the situation that's happening within the country, there is involvement from other countries like Russia and China that are on the ground. And this is everything is connected to geopolitics. We see what's happening, in the Olympic Games, in different things, not only in the inauguration ceremony that was pure evil, also throughout the games, what's going on. We see what's happening, in UK with all these protests going on, clashes between citizens and immigrants. This has began to happen 2 weeks ago approximately. We see what's going on in the Middle East, and what everybody's expecting, this huge war to escalate with the attack of Iran against Israel, and not only from Iran, from other the countries, somehow the proxies of Iran in the Middle East. And we see more attacks, and in this war, endless war between Russia and Ukraine, that is igniting the fire all over the places. So, I think I'm not trying to say that it was a prophetic dream, And I think it's just a warning from YaHuWaH saying that things are going to begin to get more evil and more obscure. And this is exactly what we see happening in our days. So, and what's going on with nature, we also see that there's something happening and we cannot deny it. It's just a matter to open our eyes to see what's happening in the world. But not only that, we need to be so attentive to what YaHuWaH is revealing to our hearts, because we're going to feel it. We're going to feel here within us that the time is so close. We cannot put the day or the hour. We cannot tell even the month or the year. We just can say what we are feeling in our heart, that the time is so soon to come. And as I saw in my dream, that these evil forces are coming from the bottom, and maybe it's a reflection of the bottomless pit. And it is written in the prophecies in the word, and it's rising up, like the giants of old with pure evil, that we know what the giants of old did to humanity, how they ate human beings. It is written in the book of Enoch, how they ate all the resources of the earth, those resources that YaHuWaH was created in order to give us provision to sustain our lives. They are doing exactly the same now spiritually, and they're using their own proxies, the children of darkness, in order to perpetrate all things. And that's why, maybe it was in his will not to do the broadcast last week. Because, today I can share this dream with you with more even evidence of what's going on in the world. But not only that, because I think the topic we are going to read today and the portion we are going to study today is so relevant regarding what should be our attitude when we see these things happening. What should be our attitude? What should be our actions? What we should do when we see evil increasing? So that's the way we need to trust YaHuWaH. No matter what's going on around us, no matter what's going on within us, but we need to trust in Him always. That He is the purpose of our life. That He is the one providing us even life, because life belongs to Him. So why we are going to be afraid of things that are going on in the world? If our trust is in Him, our trust is in the Creator, the Maker of the heavens and the earth. So I don't want to go into the details of the portion. We will go to the music as we always do, but I feel this sense of urgency in my heart that we need to seek His face more than ever before. I have this sense of urgency in my heart that we need to put order in our houses, in our temple. And we need to be in good terms with YaHuWaH Elohim. As I said a few days ago, our attitude should be not to please men, but to please Elohim. Because the most important relationship we have in life is with YaHuWaH. And we need to make sure that our relationship with Him is in good terms. We need to make sure that our relationship with YaHuWaH is in a good shape. We need to make sure that in this relationship with Him, we trust in Him with all our heart. But also, we need to make sure that He is trusting in us with all His heart. That's the meaning of a relationship. Trust in both directions. That we trust in Him, but also He trusts in us. And how He's going to trust in us? when we love him with all our hearts, when we obey him with all our being, when we walk with him no matter the circumstances that we are going through, that the most important thing that is driving all our thoughts, our words, and our actions are in order to please him and not us, is to please him. So meditate on those words, and I pray to YaHuWaH that seed is going into a good soil and that is going to grow in your heart, because the time is now that we need to seek him with all the strength of our being. Not thinking only in ourselves, in our own salvation, because he has chosen you and me, not only to save us individually. For sure, he's one of his intentions and the purpose of his heart, but also to serve him by reaching out to others, to help others, to take hold of this amazing salvation that he brought by the hand of Yahushua HaMashiach. So let's not be selfish. Let's try to help others as well, in order for their eyes to be opened by the Ruach, for their hearts to be opened by the Ruach, in order to see and understand the salvation we have. Just by extending our hands, try to reach out to him. That's the only thing we need to do in order to get this salvation for us, for each one of us. Having said that, let me share this song with you, and we will move on with the portion. So here we go.
זכה לנו
So I will invite you to close your eyes and let's pray together. YaHuWaH Elohim Sabaoth, we want to give thanks to you once again in this new Shabbat for giving us the opportunity to gather ourselves through this platform with the whole intention of YaHuWaH of study your word and to learn your truth. We seek you, we seek your face with all our hearts, understanding and acknowledging, YaHuWaH, that you are the source of everything. That it's only in you that we can find hope. It's only in you where we have expectation of life. That you are the one setting a path, a way for us. And not only that, you have appointed your son Yahushua to lead us on that way. You are doing everything for us and within us. We just need to deny ourselves and to rely only on you. And here we are, YaHuWaH, with the desire of our heart to rely on you, to give our lives to you, asking you, YaHuWaH, that you can take the guidance and you can take the lead and you can guide us in every way you want to send us, that you can guide us in everything you want us to do for you, that you can allow your son Yahushua HaMashiach to live within us and through us, so we can be your perfect image and likeness, because he is your perfect image and likeness, and we want to be like him. And that's the way we pray to you in this moment, YaHuWaH, that you can form in us a heart of flesh. You can remove that heart of stone, and that you can renew the steadfast spirit within us, so we can always trust in you, so we can always recognize you in all our steps, in all our experiences, that we can always remember you, YaHuWaH. And what you just put in my heart, is such a truth. I thank you for that. That we need to do everything in our hands and in our hearts, so you can trust in us as well. We are your people, in the four corners of the earth, and we trust in you, but we want you to trust in us too, like obedient children, like loving children, and the only things they want is to please their daddy. And we want to please you, YaHuWaH. I want to ask you that you could transform our lives in this time and age, that this generation of your children could be that golden generation of YaHuWaH, that remnant, that we can breathe for you, that we can live for you, that we can smile for you, ready to serve you, ready to do whatever you want to do through us. That's our heart for you, YaHuWaH. Take it because it belongs to you. Guide us, O YaHuWaH, in everything we will do in this moment. Reveal your word to us, to each one of us, so we can learn your ways and we can learn how to trust in you. Thank you for the opportunity you give us to be here, for the love, your love that you put in each one of our hearts, so we can love each other and we can feel that love between each other. Thank you for your presence, and we invite you that you can be with us in this moment, that you can touch our hearts, you can fill us with your Ruach HaKodesh, you can heal the sick, you can provide to the needs, those ones in needs, because that's the way we trust in you, that you do everything for your children. Open our eyes, our ears, and our understanding, so we can recognize every time that you do something for us, and we can recognize those people that you are using to bring blessings to our lives. Thank you, Abba, for your love, your compassion toward us, and for listening to our prayer, because we do it. We lift it up as our ascending offering to you, and we do it in the mighty name of your Son, YaHuWaH Mashiach. Amen. Amen. So, let's begin. Let me share the scripture with you. We go to the chapter 36 of the book of Isaiah Yeshayahu. Beginning in verse 1, and it says the following. And it came to be in the 14th year of sovereign Hiskiyahu, the Sanherib, sovereign of Ashur, came up against all the walled cities of Yehuda and took them. And the sovereign of Ashur sent Rabshakeh with a great army from Lachish to sovereign Hiskiyahu at Jerusalem. And he stood by the channel of the upper pool, on the highway to the launderer's field. And there came to him Eliakim, son of Hilkiyahu, who was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and Yoach, son of Asaph, the recorder. The Rabshakeh then said to them, Please say to Hiskiyahu, Thus said the great sovereign, the sovereign of Ashur. What trust is this in which you trust? I say, you speak of having counsel and strength for battle, but they are vain words. Now, in whom do you trust that you have rebelled against me? Look, you are trusting in the staff of this broken reed, Mizraim, on which is, if a man leans, it shall go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, the sovereign of Mizraim, to all who trust in him. But if you say to me, we trust in YaHuWaH our Elohim, is it not he whose high places and whose slaughter places Hizkiyahu has taken away, and has said to Yehuda and to Jerusalem, bow yourselves before this slaughter place? And now I urge you, please give a pledge to my master, the sovereign of Ashur, and I give you 2,000 horses if you are able on your part to put riders on them. And how do you refuse one officer of the list of my master's servants, and put your trust in Mizraim for chariots and horsemen? And now, have I come up without YaHuWaH against this land to destroy it? YaHuWaH said to me, go up against this land and destroy it. And Eliakim, Shebna, and Yoach said to the Rabshakeh, please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it, and do not speak to us in the language of Yehuda in the hearing of the people who are on the wall. So let's keep it until there, and we can continue in a minute. Okay? So, we already covered, as I said, during the study of the book of First and Second King, Melachim Aleph, Melachim Bet, we cover part of this story. And I don't want to refer too much on the historical context of what we see here, because we know that this really happened. Actually, we went into great details during that study, and I don't remember if I mentioned or not, but there have been archaeological findings that most probably you are aware of, that somehow are confirming this story, what is written in Torah, what is written in this book, in the scriptures, has been confirmed with archaeological findings from the kingdom of Assyria, where all of this, what happened with Hizkiyahu during this battle, somehow is confirmed that it really happened. It's an external source, not from the scripture, not from the manuscripts. It's an external source that somehow from the other side of the coin, on this army of the Assyrian, somehow is confirming that story happened. So I don't want to refer this to the historical context and how things happened. I just want to take the opportunity to connect to everything that was sharing at the beginning, to connect everything that's going on in the world, but not only connecting this from the body of Messiah point of view, that we all together are a temple for Elohim, as Gefa Peter is writing about. But also I want to connect this from the individual temple, each one of us, how this story somehow could be connected to we as a body, but mostly we as a person, as a temple of the living Elohim, as a temple of the Ruach of Elohim. What should be our attitude now in these times? What should be our mindset now in these times that we are living in these evil forces dominating the world, when we see trials and tribulations all over the place? What should be our attitude? What should be our mindset? And from that point of view, we see Hizkiyahu from one side, and we see the king of Assyria on the other side. And as we were seeing in the first passage, and it's so relevant, and put yourself in the shoes of the king of Israel, in the king of the house of Yehuda, in the shoes of Hezekiah, the shoes of Hizkiyahu. when we see this great army, this great empire, as we have been talking in the past, in the previous portion, this great empire of Assyria, conquering all over the land, even conquering up to Misraim. And we know what the foreshadow of Assyria means in Bible prophecy in connection to the last kingdom of the world that is going to rule over the world, in connection to the evil one that is going to try to put himself as the Messiah to rule the entire world. It is written in the book of Revelation. So you see this great force, this great evil force coming towards you, the one that has been destroying and conquering all over the places, all over the kings, all over the kingdoms, is coming toward you because he wants to destroy you. And not only that, it is written in the verse it said that the king of Ashur came up against, Sanherib was the king at that time, came up against all the walled cities of Yehuda and took them. So this great force, this evil force is coming to your territory, to the land that you are responsible of, and it is destroying everything around you. All the cities that belongs to your kingdom are being destroyed, are being conquered. And the last city that has not been conquered is Jerusalem, is the place of your house, is the place of the house of Elohim. So how many times we are going through similar situations in our lives? Maybe we have been going through similar situations in the past. Maybe now we are going through those difficult situations. And in the times that we are living, we know that we are going through difficulties and more persecution is coming. We see the cities that somehow are connected to us. We see things and people that are connected to us, somehow being destroyed, being conquered, being taken. We see that we are being surrounded by evil things that we don't understand, maybe. Evil things that we don't know what they are going to try to do in order to destroy us and to conquer us. And this is exactly what's going on. We as a body of Messiah, but also we individually as a child of Elohim, we see these evil forces increasing. And that's exactly the situation that Hizkiyahu is facing with the king of Ashur. And you know, as we see here happening, the king of Ashur, that we can compare this to Shaitan, to Satan, or we can compare to the anti-Mashiach, the Antichrist, whatever you want to call it. It's not doing things by itself. It's sending their servants in order to put fear in the heart of the people, in order to put words and thoughts in the heart of the people, with the only intention to destroy, with the only intention to diminish the trust in the only one that we have to trust. And while I'm sharing this with you, I want you to try to analyze your own life. Things that you have been going through in the past. What have been your mindset? What have been your attitude? Maybe things that you are going through now. What is your internal thoughts? What are your attitude toward the situation you are living and going through? Because you know, YaHuWaH is giving us those opportunities, and also He's giving us these stories in order to prepare us, in order to strengthen us, in order to face the situations that are coming in our way with His heart, with His eyes, with His attitude, and not with ours. So they are sending their servants in order to threaten, in order to induce fear, in order to persecute, in order to diminish the trust. So, and we see here this happening with Rabshakeh. But there's something important I want you to take a look. And this is something that is so true that it should give us an additional weapon to fight against these things. And what I'm talking about, when we see Rav Shakeh here talking and discussing with these three witnesses that has been sent by Hizkiyahu the king, we notice something that is really interesting. And let me read it again and I will explain what it is. It says in the verse 4, Rav Shakeh then said to them, to the three witnesses, please say to Hizkiyahu, that said the sovereign of Ashur. And what he said, he asked a question. And in this question, YaHuWaH is allowing us to see something that is going to help us in this battle, this spiritual battle that we are facing now, that the battlefield begins in our mind. The battlefield is within us. And we should not allow these evil forces to win in that battlefield, because we have somebody that is stronger than them. And that's YaHuWaH, the maker of the heavens and the earth. So what's this question that is allowing us to see something that is really important? The question is, what trust is this in which you trust? What trust is this in which you trust? I say in the verse 5, you speak of having counsel and strength for battle, but they are vain words. Now in whom do you trust that you have rebelled against me? Can you see it? The evil ones don't know. They don't know what is in your heart. They don't know if you trust in a man in the king of Mizraim, as is written in the other passages, or if you are trusting in YaHuWaH. They are just guessing. They are just guessing in everything that they are saying. They are guessing. If you trust in Mizraim, he is going to forsake you. He's going to pierce your hand. Because that's the way of, those are the ways of Mizraim, of Pharaoh. If you trust in YaHuWaH, he said this, this, and this. They don't know. They don't know what is in your heart. And that's a tremendous advantage that we have in the battle in our minds. That's a huge advantage that YaHuWaH is giving you, is giving me on these times. That though we see distractions happening all around us, though we see evil forces dominating everything around us and trying to persecute us, trying to destroy us in different levels, in different ways in our lives, they don't know what is in your heart. And it's up to you, it's up to me, to decide how we're going to face it. They are coming with words, they are coming with thoughts in order to threaten us, in order to destroy the trust we have in Elohim. But they don't know if you are trusting or not. Through our words, through our actions, maybe they can know, but they cannot read what thoughts, what are the intentions of your heart. This is the only one that can do it, is YaHuWaH Elohim and you. So it's up to you to decide how you are going to face that battle. If you are going to allow this to happen, to get into and take root in your heart, or you are going to rebuke them by the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach. So let me go step by step, just understanding that they don't know what is within us. And that's the tremendous advantage. He said, look, you are trusting in the stab of this broken reed. They don't know if we're trusting in a man or we're trusting in YaHuWaH. So they're just guessing. On which, if a man leans, it shall go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, the sovereign Mizraim, to all who trust in him. And somehow they're right. You know, we know that evil spirits that are going to tell truth, half-truth, and lies. This has always been the ways of Satan. Giving half-truth mixed with lies. And why I'm saying that maybe they're right in this? Because we should not trust in men nor in women. Our trust needs to be always in YaHuWaH Elohim, because he's not a man to lie. What he says is what he will do. So this is half truth, but check what they are saying next. But if you say to me, we trust in YaHuWaH, our Elohim, is it not he whose high places and whose lower places his Yahu has taken away, and has said to Yahuwah and to Jerusalem, bow yourselves before this slaughter place? You see that he's mixing, and this is exactly what the evil ones are doing, mixing truth. We know that what his Yahu was doing was destroying idolatry. He was destroying pagan worship with all these high places that the previous generation of Israel, they were setting up all this Baal worship in all the high places of Jerusalem and Yehuda. What Yahu was destroying, and he was putting order in his house. He was removing all the evil things from the territory that belongs to Yahuwah. And what the evil ones are trying to do here is to confuse the people. Confuse the people by saying that it was those places belongs to Yahuwah, when we know that those places were for idol worship. So they're trying to confuse the people not to recognize who Yahuwah really is. It's not the same way that they're doing it with all of us. When we face situations, when we see the evil increasing around us, trying to confuse us, maybe to trust in men or women first. Also to confuse us, not to recognize who Yahuwah really is. And try to mix who Yahuwah really is with pagan and idol worship. And he's going even further when saying, trust in my master and don't trust in his Yahu. And actually, let me continue reading, because this is even more important when it goes. So it says in the verse 11, and Eliakim, Shebna, and Yoah said to the Rabshakeh, please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it, and do not speak to us in the language of Yehuda, in the hearing of the people who are on the wall. But the Rabshakeh said, has my master sent me to your master and to you to speak these words, and not to the men who sit on the wall, to eat their own dung and drink their own urine with you? And the Rabshakeh stood and called out with a loud voice in the language of Yehuda, that we know that's Hebrew, so Yehuda spoke Hebrew, and he was speaking the same language to them for everybody to understand what he was saying. And he was speaking loudly, saying, hear the words of the great sovereign, the sovereign of Ashur. Thus said the sovereign, do not let Yahu deceive you, for he is unable to deliver you. And do not let Yahu make you trust in Yahuwah, saying, Yahuwah shall certainly deliver us. This city is not given into the hand of the sovereign of Ashur. Do not listen to Yahu, for thus said the sovereign of Ashur, make peace with me by a present, and come out to me, and let each of you eat from his own vine, and each from his own fig tree, and each of you drink the waters of his own cistern, until I come. Then I shall take you away to a land like your own land, a land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vineyards. Beware lest Yahu mislead you, saying, Yahuwah shall deliver us. Has any one of the mighty ones of the nations delivered its land from the hand of the sovereign of Ashur? Where are the mighty ones of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the mighty ones of Sepharwayim? And when have they delivered Shomeron from my hand? Who among all the mighty ones of these lands have delivered the land from my hand, that Yahuwah should deliver Jerusalem from my hand? But they were silent, and answered him not a word. For the command of the sovereign was, do not answer him. And Eliakim, son of Hilkiyahu, who was over the household, Shebna the scribe, and Yoah, son of Asaph, the recorder, came to Hiskiyahu with their garments torn, and they reported to him the words of the Rav Shakeh. So, besides they don't know if you are trusting in them, if you are trusting in other person, or if you are trusting in YaHuWaH, besides these evil forces are going to try to conquer everything around you, even to destroy you. Besides that, they will try to confuse you to recognize YaHuWaH or to mix the recognition of YaHuWaH with idolatry in order to induce fear in you. They are going to go beyond that. They are going to try to confuse you to not to trust in Yahushua, the King. And we know that we need to allow Yahushua to live in us, as Shaul is writing in his letters. Yahushua should live in us. We should allow him to live through us by imitating him, by living like he lived, by walking as he walked, by walking as he walks. And what they're going to try to do is not to listen to Yahushua and his words, to our King, the one who is showing us the way forward in order to come back to the Father. And you know, one thing is to trust in YaHuWaH. Another thing that is connected, because they are Echad, is to trust in Yahushua HaMashiach, is to trust in our King, that he has been the King appointed by YaHuWaH Sebaot in order to lead his people. So he's misleading you, the evil forces are going to say. He is not going to save you, is what the evil forces are going to say. And there's something that is important. They are going to speak in the language in a way that we are going to understand. You know, these three witnesses that we were pushing him not to speak in Hebrew in order to avoid these words to go into the ears of the people sitting on the wall, because that's, you know, when we allow things to get into us through our ears or through our eyes, we are allowing those words or those evil intentions to get into us. And that's the way that the battle in our minds begins. And they were trying to avoid this situation to go into the ears of the people. But what the evil forces did, they were speaking in the same language, a language that the people, they were going to understand. And we can understand this not only with languages like English, Spanish, Hebrew, or whatever it is, that for sure when we hear in a language that is much better to understand to us, our mother tongue, things are going to get into our hearts much easily. They touch in our emotions much easily. But this can be understood as well in the words that are going to touch our hearts, in the way things are going to be said in order to touch our hearts, that are going to be opening the doors of our hearts much easily than other words. What the Nahash did in Eden was speaking lovely and peacefully to Hawa, to Eve. So in order to deceive her, that's what I'm trying to say. The evil ones are going to try to deceive us with nice words, with words that are going to tinkle in our ears, that are going to be fables or any lies, that we are not like a guardian, like a warrior of the army of YaHuWaH. We're not going to be able to push back with the weapons that YaHuWaH, the spiritual weapons that YaHuWaH is giving us. So, the hearing of the people on the world, he's saying, he's speaking words, not only for the king and for the three witnesses, it's for everyone. And when he started to speak to the people, hear the words of the great sovereign. Words are so important. Words are so important. Everything begins with words. And as I have been sharing with you in the past, everything begins with thoughts in our mind. And we can manifest the words by speaking the word or by writing the word. And we will see an example in this portion as well. They are speaking the words. They are inducing thoughts in our minds. They are sending their servants in order to speak words that sometimes are darts. They are trying to get into us. But we need to be well prepared in order to fight this battle. And we will see the secret on how to do it in the example of Hizkiyahu. So there's something that we need to realize, and this is part of the lie that is happening in this time, and there is nothing new under the sun. You know, how to diminish the trust in YaHuWaH, comparing YaHuWaH to anybody else. Those mighty ones were not able to save those people. Why you are trusting in YaHuWaH? You know, you cannot see YaHuWaH. Are you hearing his voice? Maybe you're not hearing his voice. How you are going to continue trusting in him? Those are the things that the evil forces and the evil ones are trying to do in order to detach us from the trust that we need to have in YaHuWaH Elohim Sebaot all the time. Words and trust to induce fear. And this is exactly, you know, what I'm highlighting now is exactly what is happening. Make peace with me by a present and come out to me. And let each of you eat from his own vine, and each from his own fig tree, and each of you drink the waters of his own cistern. These are the blessings and similar blessings that YaHuWaH is promising to his people. And here, the king of Ashur is trying to put himself in the place of Elohim, trying to offer the same things to the people so they can trust in him instead of trusting in YaHuWaH. And he's saying this, and I think it is so relevant for these end times. Until I come, enjoy all of this until I come, and check what else he's going to do. Then I shall take you away to a land like your own land, a land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vineyards. I don't want to open a doctrinal debate, but I want you to think and meditate on this. In these words, he say, enjoy all of this until I come. So the king of Assyria is not present. He's saying, I will come back to you. You see the similarities of what we're expecting. Yahushua will come back. That was his promise. And he's putting himself in a similar situation, saying, until I come to you. And when I come to you, I shall take you away. And I shall take you away to a different land. And that land is going to be your own land, a land of grain, new wine, land of bread, and vineyards. Is the great deception. Is the king of Assyria trying to put himself in the same place of Yahushua, saying that he will come back and take the people away, and he is going to give them a new land that is going to overflow with supplies, food, and so on. And that land is going to be the new land. They are going to be the owner of the land. Isn't it similar to our expectation? It's true. But if we trust in YaHuWaH, we know that what YaHuWaH is bringing by the hand of Yahushua is the real deal. It's not the fake one. And this is a fake one because Israel already were dwelling in a land that YaHuWaH was providing to them, was the promised land. What the deception that the evil forces and the evil spirit is trying to induce is people to believe that somebody else is going to provide the same promises that YaHuWaH is providing and promising. That somebody else, a man that is coming by his own name, not sent by YaHuWaH, is the one that is going to provide to their needs, is the one that somehow is going to fulfill part of what is our expectation. And that's why many chosen ones are going to be deceived. As Yahushua himself said, actually, what is written, that in order to save the chosen ones, because they could be deceived, that the days are going to be shortened. So we need to be so attentive to what's going on, but most importantly, understanding the way that the evil spirits are working in our times in order to fight with the weapons that YaHuWaH is giving us in these times. Okay? And this is something so important, and it's confirming to me what I was sharing with you at the very beginning, that they don't know what is in our hearts. There is let me put it in this way, a channel of communication between us and Elohim that the Satan and the evil spirits are not able to understand. That's why, the instruction they got from the king is to answer not a word, is to keep silent. Because if we keep silent and we don't say any word, they're not going to be able to understand what is in our hearts. What is in our heart is just between us and Elohim. And we should not make it easy for the evil ones to understand and to try to win the battle in our minds. We need to be strong by the strength that Yahushua has given us by the Ruach of Elohim. And we need to keep silent and fight spiritually. And YaHuWaH will give us the way forward in order to win the battle. Any battle that is coming to our ways, any battle that we need to have the strength, not our own strength, but the strength that is coming from above, from YaHuWaH Elohim Sebaot. And what was the attitude? And this is exactly what should be our attitude. And we talked about this in the past. They were facing this huge trial and persecution. They were facing all this distraction all over the places. What they did, they turned their garments. They say no word, but they turned their garments in a sign of humility because they were trusting in YaHuWaH. And you remember, I was sharing this with you several weeks ago, is that when we just imagine of tearing our garments, what we are going to do is to do it from the chest, from the place of our heart. And more than a physical sign is the emotional and the spiritual sign. What it means the most is to allow this heart to be broken within us, so to seek YaHuWaH with all the intention and with all our emotions, with all our being. That's the meaning of the garments torn. And this is exactly what they did. If we continue in the chapter 37, it's going to be much easier to see it. So let's read it. And it came to be, when Sovereign Hizkiyahu heard it, that he tore his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of YaHuWaH, and sent Eliakim, who was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and the elders of the priests, covering themselves with sackcloth, to Yeshayahu the prophet, the son of Amoz. So what the king did, and I want you to think on the king as yourself, though we know that the king of our hearts is Yahushua, but you are in charge of your temple, of this temple. YaHuWaH has appointed you to be in charge of this temple. And Yahushua is knocking the door in order to get into you and to dwell with you and to help you on ruling your house. But you are the one in charge. So what Hizkiyahu did, the one in charge for the temple and the domain of the territory, when he heard about what's going on, he tore his garments as well in a sign of humility. What I'm going to do? YaHuWaH, help me. And he sent his servants to talk to the servant of YaHuWaH. But he did not only that. What he did, he went into the house of YaHuWaH. And I think this is so relevant about what are the steps we need to take every time that we're facing any difficulty. is, as I said, keep silent. Turn our heart in humility. Seek the servants of YaHuWaH for a word of wisdom. But most importantly, go into the house of YaHuWaH. You know what Yahushua said? And I have the word here. It says, but you, when you pray, go into your room, and having shut your door, pray to your Father who is in the secret place, and your Father who sees in secret shall reward you openly. He went into the house. This is a house. We need to turn our hearts and get into the house of Elohim in prayers, into that secret place, seeking YaHuWaH in the midst of the storm. Seek YaHuWaH in the midst of persecution, in the midst of destruction, in the midst of evil spirits rising around us. We have nothing to fear because we have the one who is stronger than anybody else. But in order to have him by our side, we need to be by his side and seek him with all our hearts. Go into the house of YaHuWaH. What it means is to close our eyes and to start praying to him, but not with our lips only, with all the intention of our hearts, asking Allah to allow us to get into that secret place where it's only him and you, where you are able to be echad, and he's going to listen to you. The place when you are able to surrender your heart to him. That's the way. This is exactly what Yahuwah is doing. So it says in the verse 3, and they said to him, thus said Yahuwah, this day is a day of distress and rebuke and scorn, for the children have come to birth, but there is not strength to bring forth. And I think this is exactly the way that we feel ourselves when we're going through difficulties, right? That we don't have the strength, we don't know, we are confused, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to move forward. We don't know what's coming. It's complete confusion. But what they're doing, they're expressing this not to the enemy. They're keeping silence in front of the enemy, not saying a word, because in order to keep the enemy confused, the enemy will try to do whatever they want in order to destroy us. But if we keep our words for us and to Elohim, they're going to continue being confused, not able to understand how to take us down. They will try whatever they want in order to take us down, but they won't know how to do it, because they don't know what is in your heart. And the words that we are going to express, the words that we are going to say, we need to say it to Elohim only. Because if we are going to trust in him, trust, it means that we are going to give our hearts to him with everything that is in our hearts. So it is written that from the overflow in our heart is that our mouth is going to speak. So we need to speak out to YaHuWaH what is in our hearts, and this is exactly what's happening. Not to our enemy, not to a man, nor to a woman. We need to speak out the words in our hearts to YaHuWaH Elohim, because he wants to listen to us. He wants to hear our voices, even though he knows everything that's happening within us. He gave us a mouth. He gave us a voice that he wants to listen to. He wants us to express the word and manifest the word and speaking to him. So it says in the verse 4, it could be that YaHuWaH Elohim does hear the words of the Rav Shakeh, whom his master, the sovereign of Ashur, has sent to reproach the living Elohim, and shall rebuke the words which YaHuWaH your Elohim has heard. Therefore lift up your prayer for the remnant that is left. So that's the way to seek YaHuWaH, even through servants or through direct prayers. So the servants of sovereign Hizkiyahu came to YaShayahu. And YaShayahu said to them, say this to your master. Thus said YaHuWaH, do not be afraid of the words which you have heard, with which the servants of the sovereign of Ashur have reviled me. See, I am putting a spirit in him, and he shall hear a report and return to his own land, and I shall cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. So YaHuWaH is providing relief. YaHuWaH is providing shalom. YaHuWaH is strengthening the trust we have for him and in him. And you know, everything he does, it begins in the spiritual realm and is going to be manifested then in the external world, in the things that we are able to see and hear. Because he said, I'm putting a spirit in him. So, and we have seen all these stories in different portions that we haven't studied so far. The YaHuWaH is doing it like this. He's putting a spirit within the people in order to drive people thoughts and actions, in order to fulfill his desire and his will, in order to protect his people. So that's why, you know, it's so important for us that we trust in him all the time, that he is going to put the right spirit within us, and a spirit that is going to give us faith, a spirit that is going to give us power, a spiritual power, a spirit that is going to give us this trust in him despite everything that's happening around us. And that's the Ruach of Elohim. That's why it's so important we seek him and we ask him to give us of his Ruach in order to be able and empowered enough to fight the battles that we are fighting in these times. Because if we do it by our own strength, we are going to fail. We are not going to be able to win it. We are going to be defeated. But if we trust in him and we ask YaHuWaH to save us, to deliver us from the enemy, to give us of his spirit in order to fight the spiritual battle, he is going to be the one giving us the right spirit, and he is going to put a different spirit in our enemies in order to fulfill his purposes for us. And this is exactly what happened. Because if we continue reading, it says, and the Rabshakeh in the verse 8 returned and found the sovereign of Ashur fighting against Libnah, for he had heard that he had left Lachish. And this is exactly YaHuWaH fulfilling his word on what's happening. And he heard concerning Tirhakah, sovereign of Cush, he has come out to fight with you. And when he heard it, he sent messengers to Hizkiyahu saying, and listen to this, because even though we see YaHuWaH helping, even though we see Hizkiyahu and the people throwing their garments and seeking YaHuWaH for protection and deliverance, we see that the battle is not won yet. And we see how the enemy will try again to destroy our trust in YaHuWaH. And he will try multiple times. But in the same way that the enemy is trying multiple times, we also need to seek YaHuWaH multiple times, all the times that is needed in order to be strengthened by his Ruach, in order to have the trust in YaHuWaH be reinforced in our hearts. And as I said at the beginning, the enemy was bringing spoken words in order to destroy the trust in YaHuWaH. Now, this time, he's sending written words in order to try to do exactly the same. So the enemy will try to do many things in different ways in order to try to get into us with the only intention to destroy the trust that we have in him, in YaHuWaH Sebaot. It says, speak to his Yahweh in the verse 10, the sovereign of Yehuda, saying, do not let your Elohim in whom you trust deceive you, saying, Jerusalem is not given into the hand of the sovereign of Ashur. And we can apply this exactly to our lives. The enemy can tell you, do not let your Elohim in whom you trust deceive you, saying, your life is not given into the hands of your enemies. Everything you dear the most is not going to be saved. It's going to be given in the hands of the enemy. Your own life, your own house is going to be given into the hands of the enemy. You know, this can be applied completely to our lives because the enemy works in the same patterns and in the same ways. They're using different artifacts in order to confuse us and to mislead us or to lead us astray. But we need to be strong enough in the word of YaHuWaH and in the spirit of Elohim in order to understand these artifacts and these ways of the enemy, in order not to allow him to get into us and to destroy our trust in him, in YaHuWaH Sebaot. That's why it's important that we see this story in the way that I'm sharing this with you, because it's the only way that we are going to be able to fight the battle that is beginning within us and is being manifested externally through, the servants of the enemy. How we are going to be children of light, how we are going to be part of the army of YaHuWaH if we don't know how to fight. This week I met a person that, an Israeli person, that in the past he was, when he was young, he was part of the special forces of the army. And he was trained for the special forces. And after what happened in October last year, it was such a compelling event that they were asking people, volunteers, to rejoin the army, those that were in good shape or were fit for the army. And he was in good shape. He was sharing this with me. And he was so touched that he decided to be a volunteer and join back. And, since so many years had passed since he was in the military, in the special forces, he and his group needed to go through a period of training, just to remember some stuff, just to recondition their body again for the harsh situations in the battlefield. And after this week or 2 weeks of intense training, they were ready to go to the battlefield. It's exactly what's happening to us in the spiritual field. Maybe we already received some training in the past on how to fight. Maybe we didn't receive the training. But how come we are going to go to the battlefield without the proper training? What we are sharing now, what we are studying now, is part of the proper training in order to be prepared for the fight. One of the things this man was sharing with me is that he was sitting in his house, in his sofa, taking a look in the news and all the videos that happened during that attack on October. And he felt something within himself saying, I cannot stay here at home without doing nothing. I have to do something. And this should be our attitude too. Sometimes we allow battles to come into ourselves, the battle of the mind. And we allow those battles to continue there. We allow the enemy to mess around our minds without any training in order to control and to win that battle. And sometimes, that's an individual battle. Sometimes we see battlefields happening around us in people, and we're just observing without, engaging and trying to do something. For sure, we should not do it by our own intention. Every time that we are trying to help somebody else, we need to be guided. We need to be led by the Ruach of Elohim to do so. Because if we are doing it by our own intention, we are going to fail miserably. If we failed and we are being led by the Ruach, He is going to be the one fighting that battle, not us. He is going to use us as an instrument, as a warrior. He is going to provide the strength, the power, the weapons, and the way forward in order to win the battle. But in any of those cases, how we are going to do it if we are not properly trained? And the basic training it begins with us. How to win our own battles. We need to learn how to fight the spiritual battle within us in order to be properly trained to go into the battlefield. So, as I was sharing with you at the beginning, this dream, I think it's a warning from YaHuWaH. That's the way that I felt it. Is that we need to be ready to fight. And I'm not talking about physical training, though it's an important thing to do. It's part of another study that I have been preparing. But the spiritual training, how to fight the spiritual battle. And here we see a lot of steps that we should do. And also, what are the strategies of the enemies? So it continues in the verse 11. See, you have heard what the sovereigns of Ashur have done to all lands by putting them under the ban. And are you going to be delivered? So again, doubt. Sowing doubt in the hearts. Have the mighty ones of the nations delivered those whom my fathers have destroyed? Gozan and Haran and Retseph and the sons of Eden who were in Telasar? What is the sovereign of Hamath and the sovereign of Arpad and the sovereign of the city of Sepharwaim, Hena and Iwa? Do you think you are going to survive? Do you think that YaHuWaH really exists? Do you really believe that He's going to save you? Don't you see what's going on in the world? I am the one in power. So surrender to me and you are going to enjoy life. Those are the strategies and the words of the enemy. And the scenario and the times we are living, these things and these strategies and these words are all over the places in order to deceive you, in order to plant doubts in our hearts, so we don't continue trusting in YaHuWaH. What we are going to do about it? It's going to sound funny, but we need to be a bit stubborn against the enemy. Not against YaHuWaH. We need to be stubborn against the enemy. The most we are being punished, the most we seek YaHuWaH, the most the enemy wants to plant doubt in our hearts, the most we trust in Him. It's not going to be easy. We are going to cry. We are going to suffer. We are going to feel it. But our heart needs to be always for YaHuWaH Sebaot. As the darkness increases, light is increasing. And we must decide for light and not for darkness. And that decision is within each one of us. What side of the battlefield we are going to be. We're going to be for light or for darkness. If the enemy is trying to destroy, we build up. If the enemy is trying to sown doubt, we build up trust. If the enemy is trying to destroy us emotionally or whatever he wants, let's turn our garments and seek in humility YaHuWaH in order to restore us. That should be our attitude. This is the attitude of YaHuWaH, and that should be the example for us in order to do it in these times of trouble. Think, as I was inviting you, in all the experiences you have faced throughout your lifetime, how you have handled those experiences, those difficulties. Have you been handling the difficulties that maybe you are facing now? That's going to be the way that you are going to be able to compare your attitude in the past against the steps that the word of YaHuWaH is teaching us on how we have to fight the battles. And if you see something that you have not done in the past, if you see something that you are not doing now that is somehow connected to what YaHuWaH is teaching us on how to fight those battles, it's the time to correct those things. It's the time to change our mindset, to renew our mind. Allowing the Ruach to renew our mind in order to learn how to fight. You know, all those experiences that YaHuWaH has been giving us, sometimes very difficult, other times not that difficult, has been opportunities for us to learn how to fight. You cannot go back with a time machine and trying to solve the past. It's impossible. But you know, with the eyes of your spirit, you can remember. You can see those things in the past. And you can revive and feel what happened within you in order to learn how to do it properly with the power and the mighty power of YaHuWaH Sebaot. He's allowing you to remember. And He's allowing you to go through trials and tribulation now in order to strengthen you, in order for you to be trained for the times we are living now. So the question we need to ask ourselves, am I going to allow YaHuWaH to train me? Or I will continue doing it by my own will and my own desire? Am I going to be allowed to be trained, allow Him to train me? Because if I've been trained properly to fight the battle, I'm going to be able to help not me now only. I'm going to be able to help others. That's not the attitude of Mashiach. Mashiach came to this world to give His own life. With what purpose? For a selfish purpose? Because He wanted to be appointed the king of everything? He was already the king of everything. He removed, His body of glory from the past in order to become a mortal man. And why He did that? He didn't do this for Himself. He did it in order to give us an opportunity, not only to us, for everybody else, from the past and for the future, to return to the Father, to be saved. He didn't do it for selfish purposes. He did it for you, for me, for the entire world, to give an opportunity. So if we're going to walk His way, that should be our mindset too, is to follow Him with the purpose of our heart, to serve YaHuWaH by serving others. But to serve others, we need to be trained, and we need to grow, and we need to learn. So it says in the verse 14, and YaHuWaH received the letter from the hand of the messengers and read it. And YaHuWaH went up to the house of YaHuWaH and spread it before YaHuWaH. So first spoken words, YaHuWaH did something in order to led astray the king of Ashur and to remove him from close to Jerusalem. Then the enemy sent letters, written words, spoken and written words, in order to sow the doubt, to plant the doubt in the hearts of the people. So the enemy will continue trying and retrying and retrying in order to defeat you and to make you fall down. But what YaHuWaH did is exactly everything that we have been doing and saying so far. He went again to the house of YaHuWaH. He spoke the words to YaHuWaH. He surrendered his heart to him, bowed down his heart to YaHuWaH, and he spoke the words. There's so much power when we speak the words, because it connects our heart, our inner being, to YaHuWaH by speaking out to him what is within us. And he said, O YaHuWaH Sebaot, Elohim of Israel, the one who dwells between the cherubim, you are Elohim, you alone. Of all the reigns of the earth, you have made the heavens and earth. Incline your ears, O YaHuWaH, and hear. Open your eyes, O YaHuWaH, and see. And hear all the words of Sanherib, who has sent to reproach the living Elohim. Is that YaHuWaH is not hearing that he's asking him to hear? It's not that YaHuWaH is not able to see that he's asking him to see. Not at all. He's asking YaHuWaH to pay close attention to his words, to see what he's going through, to hear his suffering. And not only his sufferings is what the enemy is saying against YaHuWaH Sebaot. It's the same pattern that we see Moshe using. It's the same pattern that we see Eliyahu using when they were praying to YaHuWaH. Those are the things we have to say and we have to do in prayer. Truly YaHuWaH, the verse 18, the sovereigns of Ashur have laid waste all the lands and their land, and have put their mighty ones into the fire, for they were not mighty ones, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone, and they destroyed them. And now, O YaHuWaH Eloheinu, save us from his hand, so that all the reigns of the earth know that you are YaHuWaH, you alone. That's the prayer, speaking his heart to YaHuWaH. And I think you understand what I'm trying to say, because we all have had the experience when we feel a prayer, when we do it not only with our lips, when we do it with our heart. You know, it makes a huge difference. A huge difference when we speak from the heart. And that's the way we need to speak to YaHuWaH in prayer, especially on the times of trouble, especially on the times of persecution. But should not be on those times only. That's the meaning of seeking the face of YaHuWaH with all our hearts. And when we do it like that, we are going to be able to find him. So let's not wait for the times of tribulation to seek him with our hearts. For sure we have to do it, but we need to seek him that way all the time, even when we are full of joy, even when we are enjoying life, even when we are serving him with a heart full of his presence. We need to see him in that way, because that's the way to have a relationship with him. You know, I'm speaking to you only with my lips, or I'm speaking, you know, to my kids just with my lips and not paying attention. That's not a way to build a relationship. And he wants to have a relationship with each one of us. So that's exactly what Hizkiyahu is doing in his time of suffering and desperation and distress. He's seeking YaHuWaH with all his heart, giving us, you know, and teaching us the way we have to do it. But remember, let's not wait for those moments only. So it says in the 21, Then Yeshayahu, son of Amoz, sent to Hizkiyahu, saying, Thus said YaHuWaH, Elohim of Israel, because you have prayed to me against Sanherib, sovereign of Ashur. And you see, if we're not seeking YaHuWaH and being direct on our prayer, how we are going to be able to receive an answer like this one? YaHuWaH saying, because you have prayed to me, because you have gone into my house and have prayed to me in this direction. this is what I'm going to do. Sometimes our prayers are so vague. Sometimes we don't get into the house of YaHuWaH. And what I'm saying by referring to get into the house of YaHuWaH, I'm not saying that you need to go into a physical temple. This is the temple of the living Elohim. It's the Ruach of Elohim. You need to go within yourself, getting into that secret place that Yahushua was speaking about, and pray with your heart. If you are being led to spread your hands into the Shema, do it. Do it, because it's YaHuWaH the one leading you. And use your words. The enemy is not going to be able to listen to those words, because it's a communication just between you and YaHuWaH when you do it from your heart. You know, we're used to talk about frequencies. There's a specific frequency, a channel, like in the TV or the radio, that nobody else is going to be able to listen, only you and him. It's a private conversation, and the enemy is not going to be able to listen to that. So if we do it like that, we receive, because we receive this type of answers from YaHuWaH, believe it or not. You need to train yourself to have this dialogue with YaHuWaH. If you train yourself properly by doing it from the heart, you are going to be able to listen to his voice. And you are going to be able to recognize his voice when he speaks to you, within you. Don't expect to hear something with your ears, though YaHuWaH is able to do it. You are going to hear within yourself, in your thoughts. That's the word that you are going to receive from him. This is the word which YaHuWaH has spoken concerning him. The maiden, the daughter of Zion, has despised you, mocked you. The daughter of Jerusalem has shaken her head behind you. Whom have you reproached and reviled? And against whom have you raised your voice and lift up your eyes in pride? Against the set-apart one of Israel. By the hand of your servants you have reproached YaHuWaH and said, with my many chariots I have come up to the height of the mountains, to the limits of Lebanon, and I cut down its tall cedars and its choice cypress trees, and I entered its farthest height, its thickest forest. I have dug and drunk water, and with the soles of my feet I have dried up all the streams of defense. Have you not heard long ago how I made it? From days of old that I formed it? Now I have brought it about, that you should be for crushing walled cities into heaps of ruins, and their inhabitants were powerless. They were overthrown and put to shame. They were as the grass of the field and as the green plant, as the grass of the housetops, and as grain blighted before it's grown. But I know you're sitting down, and you're going out, and you're coming in, and your rage against me. Because your rage against me and your pride had come up to my ears, I shall put my hook in your nose, and my bridle in your lips, and I shall turn you back by the way which you came. And this shall be the sign for you. This year you eat such as grows of itself, and the second year what springs from that, and in the third year sow and reap, plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. And the remnant who have escaped from the house of Yehudah shall again take root downward and be fruitful upward. For out of Jerusalem comes forth a remnant, and those who escape from Mount Zion. The ardor of YaHuWaH Sebaot does this. Therefore, thus said YaHuWaH concerning the sovereign of Ashur, he does not come into the city, nor does he shoot an arrow there, nor does he come before it with shield, nor does he build a siege mount against it. By the way that he came, by the same he turns back, and into the city he does not come, declares YaHuWaH. And I shall defend this city to save it for my own sake and for the sake of my servant David or David. So when YaHuWaH answers, he answers so powerfully in the way that he is going to destroy the enemy and in the way that he is going to save us. You know, there are multiple things here, you know, that totally applicable not only to what happened during that time in history in Israel, in Jerusalem, but also applicable for the end times. And let me just point some of them out, because we know that what's coming to Jerusalem. We know what's coming even after the 1,000 years kingdom of Yahushua here on earth. And we have been speaking about in previous portion how Satan will try to destroy, you know, the one that is coming on the cloud. He's going to destroy and take Jerusalem. Before that, during Har Megiddo, he's going to fight against Yahushua. And after the 1,000 years kingdom, he will try to go against Jerusalem once again. So this is cyclical. You know, it's a circle. It's going again. It's happening again. And I was sharing this thought with you last portion, I think, is that like the year, like a day is going in a circle. You know, everything is beginning and returning to the point zero, to the beginning point once again, meaning that the stories are repeating itself maybe in different ways. I do believe that this is happening again. I do believe that, you know, everything that happened back then is going to happen once again. And that's why we need to be careful of our attitude in order to be trained, as we were speaking about a minute ago, to fight the battle, to be those warriors of the army of YaHuWaH Sebaot. So one of the things, you know, it is very interesting, is about the sign. And this should be the sign for you. This year you eat such as grows of itself. And at the second year, what springs from that? And in the third year, sow and reap, plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. You know, this sounds like a jubilee, the Yovelim years. You know, that is in connection with Shemitah year, that they have to avoid planting and sowing. They needed to eat, you know, what's coming directly from the land. You just go read the Torah about the commandments, about the Yovelim years, and you will see many similarities to the sign that he's providing here. And I wonder that maybe this is exactly what Yahushua was saying when he took the scroll of Yeshayahu in the synagogue, and he was speaking about the year of YaHuWaH, when he was stopping and was not reading everything again, everything completely. You know, because, you know, the destruction is coming with the wrath of YaHuWaH to destroy and restore everything. So this, for me, a new sign that the Yovelim, the Jubilees, is something very profound and important. And when these things will happen, okay? It's talking about the remnant. Out of Jerusalem comes forth a remnant. And those who escape from Mount Zion, the ardor of YaHuWaH does this. And we know that he has reserved always a remnant. Even in these times, he has reserved a remnant. And we should be praying all the time in order to keep our crown in our heads, as it is written in the book of Revelation, to be that remnant, because he has chosen us to be that remnant. We are in the four corners of the earth, but he is going to gather us all into his city, okay? And he is going to be the one that is going to put the hook in the nose of the king of Assyria. We were talking about this also in previous portions. So, and why YaHuWaH is answering in this so powerful way is because his Yahu and his people was following the main principles of a spiritual battle. If we follow the same principles of that spiritual battle, every time he's going to provide a powerful answer for each one of us as well. And this time is when we need to put this in practice because we know, we see evil growing. So are we going to sit and observe, or are we going to fight the spiritual battle? We need to be ready to fight against the giants once again. So it's the time to get trained to fight properly the spiritual battle. And one of the most important things is to allow the Ruach of Elohim to dwell within us. Because Yahushua said, you will receive power when the Ruach of Elohim is coming on you. We will receive power. And that's the power we need in order to fight this battle. So let's continue to finish this portion. It says in the verse 36, and the messenger of YaHuWaH went out and struck in the camp of Ashur 185,000, and they arose early in the morning and saw all of them dead bodies. And Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, broke camp and went away and turned back and remained at Nineveh. And it came to be, as he was bowing himself in the house of Nisroch, his mighty one, that his sons Adramelech and Sharetzer struck him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Ararat. And his son Esarhaddon reigned in his place. So we see how YaHuWaH at the end fulfilled his word. But everything begins by keeping our trust in him. If we allow doubts to get into our hearts, we are going to lose this trust. That's why, we need to be ready to fight back within ourselves. And we need to be honest with us. We go through situations sometimes that those battles are so difficult, the battle in the mind. But sometimes we allow those doubts to come within us. We need to get closer to YaHuWaH anyways. We need to seek his face with all our heart. We need to ask for forgiveness. We need to ask YaHuWaH to restore us, to restore our trust. And we need to learn the lesson, how to keep that trust and that strength that is not our own. It's his strength, that he is empowering us with that strength in order to be able to fight that battle, in order to be able to get his help and salvation, that even he was sending a messenger to strike the enemy's army. Don't you think he's able to do that? Even Yahushua was saying, when he was arrested, he said, if I command, ask the Father, he will command the messengers to come and fight for me. But he was not asking for that, because he needed to fulfill the will of the Father with the purpose of his life in his first coming. So YaHuWaH even will send his Malachim, his messengers, to save us for any situation. He did it in the past. Don't you think he's going to do it again for his people? For sure he will do it. But in order to see those miracles, in order to see those things happening, we need to learn how to fight. We need to learn how to trust. We need to learn the strategies of the enemies in order not to get into their traps. We need to keep our mouth silent against the enemy. We need to open our mouth and speak out to YaHuWaH with all our hearts in the secret place, getting into the temple and seeking him, though that the enemy is trying and retrying to destroy us, is to trust in YaHuWaH and to please him and to count on him that he is the one that is going to save us. Amen? Okay, that's all I have today. So I do believe, as I always have been saying to you, speaking to me first, speaking to you then. All of everything that I have been sharing with you, believe me, is something that also needs in my day-to-day walking with Him. And so important that we hear these words that are coming from His Word and not allow them to get into from one ear and then going out from the other. Is to allow those words that are coming from Him to sit down in our hearts and to put them in practice. You know, like the example of this man, Israeli man that I was sharing with you. Let's not sit just with the knowledge. We need to have wisdom, and wisdom is coming when we put in practice what He's teaching us. We can know and learn how to build houses, but if we never build a one, we just have the theory, but not the practice. It's knowledge and not wisdom. So put in practice all of this. If you are facing a situation now, try to put in practice. It's going to be difficult at the beginning. It's like a new baby that he's trying to learn how to walk. It's going to fall down. It's not going to be easy at the beginning. Then when he will start to walk, it's going to be funny because he's going to walk funny. Until he is going to walk, the baby is going to walk normally. We need to begin doing those things, not just to hear and learn and fill us with the truth and learning things or topics. We need to put them in practice. So to absorb it in our entire being by doing. It's like faith. Without works is dead. We need to learn and do in order to complete what YaHuWaH wants to do with us. Having said that, we are going to keep it until here. Thank you so much for joining me today, for being patient, so patient to hear my words and the words that YaHuWaH is speaking in my heart and through my mouth. And I really hope that this message somehow has been a blessing to you. Maybe some of you were in need to hear these things. I think all of us somehow are in need in certain ways to be prepared for this spiritual battle. And what a beautiful way to see it directly from the word of YaHuWaH, how to do it. So thank you so much for joining me today. Keep the entire family of YaHuWaH in your prayers, because that's the way we work as a body of Mashiach. You know, I was speaking how to do it individually, but collectively we have to do the same. You know, as a body of Mashiach, get into the house of YaHuWaH, collectively, praying to Him in order to bring His salvations and deliverance. And that's why it's so important that we continue praying for one another in these times of difficulties, tribulations, and darkness. If we keep ourselves in prayers, we are going to be able to shine the light of YaHuWaH to the ones that are around us. They will see something different in you. And that difference is the light of Mashiach shining in you. So once again, thank you so much. Continue having a blessed Shabbat. We will finish with a song, as always. And I hope to see you next week. You know, is that the will of YaHuWaH? We'll see each other next week here in the chat in continuation with this study of the book of Yeshayahu that has been such a blessing to me. And I know it has been a blessing to you as well. So Shabbat Shalom. YaHuWaH be with you all. See you next week. Bye-bye.
בוא נראה אותך
בלב אחד כל גוי כל עם
יכיר אותי משיח בא
חד וגם לא חאר
כל הבריאה תשיר עלי
מכל אומה עם ולשון נקרא בכל הניצחון אותך בקהל רב אותך בקהל רב אותך בקהל רב אותך בקהל רב מלאכים תשוב בהוד כל עינס תראה שובך
וכל השבתות לשובך
אותך ישוע נחזה בקרבתך תמיד נהיה תשים עלינו את שלומך לעולמים נדיר שמך בקהל רב אותך בקהל רב אותך בקהל רב אותך בקהל בקהל